What's up, folks? How's it going? Welcome back to the stream. It's Tuesday. We're getting tactical, as we do every week. And, yeah, it's going to be a bit of an interesting show today because the sort of regular schedule has been a little disrupted. There were not quite the breadth of events we've talked with that usually we dive into on this show. Past weekend there was a couple good ones, a couple big ones. But to be honest, I was looking through X and 1 lists, and I was looking through top placers, and I was like, these are really boring. Why are these so boring? And so I took a peek at over at the WTC. We are in WTC week this week for Warhammer 40k. And, oh man, was it a night and day. So we're going to talk about some WTC today. In addition, we got a bunch of other cool stuff going on. So I'm working on some projects kind of separate from the channel right now. If you're a patron, you probably know what I'm working on. But I'm very excited about it. Part of what I'm going to be doing over the next couple weeks is there's going to be no changes to this channel, obviously, but I want to dive in and do some content about all of the Warhammer video games that are coming out. This is a good day to talk about this because we had Speed Freaks drop this morning. I was literally playing it like about 15 minutes ago before getting on the stream. So Warhammer 40k Speed Freaks is out. That game is fucking so sick. If you played the beta, you know what's up. But now it's fully available. It's super duper fun. So after the stream, I'm going to go right on over to Twitch, and we're going to play the shit out of that game. We also have Space Marine 2 coming out in a couple weeks as well. So a lot of cool Warhammer 40k content coming out. I think what I'm going to do is segregate content about that from this channel. So this channel is going to be all about tabletop 40k and list analysis and all that stuff. What I'm probably going to do is move over to another channel and talk about video games separately. So that'll be a different thing that goes on. And I'm trying to work on some content for that one right now. So that's been a lot of my time recently, but I'm very excited about it, and I hope everyone enjoys it when it's finally available. So yeah, that's what's going on over there. Please come hang out with me over on the Twitchies, twitch.tv/TacticalTortoise. We're going to play some Speed Freaks right after this. If you're in the Discord server, I'm going to hop into the Discord voice channel, and we can group together. We can play some freaking games, and we could just have an absolutely insanely orky time, and it's going to be amazing. Dorian had been following both Warmasters streams. Yeah, Warmasters got War Games live. I was this kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I feel like kind of a dumbass. I was looking through and I was like, wow, Joe didn't hit any events last week. He didn't get there were no streams from War Games Live. What the heck? And Tabletop Live's been offline for a couple weeks. I was like, wow, shocking. These live streamers are taking the time off or whatever, and then immediately this morning they both go live. I was like, oh no, I know what's up. They were going to WTC. Super cool that Tabletop Live got a ticket out there. That's amazing for them. I know that channel is much smaller than War Games Live. I think Tabletop Live and I basically have like around the same viewership numbers on our live streams. And if go check them out, by the way, folks. It's just Tabletop Live on YouTube. You can find it in a search. Because that undertaking is incredible, and if they're making as much money as I do from live streaming, they're out a ton of money. So please go give them a super chat. Go sign up to their membership because that's going to be an expensive prospect for Tabletop Live. Highly recommend you check those guys out too. It's more competitive 40k content, so it's all good stuff. But super cool to see, multiple WTC streams. It's gonna be amazing. So it's gonna be a lot of WTC coverage this week, which is gonna be amazing. Henry P, where do I get the data cards I use on overlay stream? My videos look like they're straight from GW. They are. I would say 99% of them are from Games Workshop. They're exports directly out of the indexes. I do go through and I'll recreate them if I'm covering a unit that doesn't have a datasheet, or if the datasheet's been updated. So I'll actually go. I can go into the file and edit them manually, and construct my own datasheets. They don't look perfect. I don't think I have all the same like fonts and stuff that GW does, but I think it's close enough. That's a little secret. Peek behind the curtain. So I actually, when I'm covering units that don't have datasheets and indexes, it actually takes me a bunch of extra time because I'm recreating datasheets from scratch, which is, I don't know, it's pretty cool. I like having them. And then I have them for stream overlays and stuff like that later. So I just have the asset like sitting around. But yeah, anyway, let's dive into some frickin' stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to share them, just to be clear too. I'm not an IP lawyer, but I know that's a little bit weird. So if anybody's wondering, yeah, I'm not going to make those public. Those are just for my own content. But that is how I get those. But yeah, I figure what we do today was we dive into some of the Warmaster GT lists. We're already 3 rounds in. This is, I think, the first time that we've actually dived into a game that is, or an event that is currently ongoing. I don't think we've done that before, and it's kind of cool. So we get to look at the lists before they have actually gotten to their final result. I'm going to turn my microphone down here a little bit. Hopefully it sounds okay. Let me know if it's too quiet. Now, there were a couple lists that I was posting about in the Discord server. I don't know if they have been... So this event, by the way, so let's give a little bit of background. This event is enormous. It's 500 players, so super major size. I don't want to say it's like rivals LVO, but it's sort of like the second LVO, right? 500 players, absolutely huge. Many of these players, not all of them, because it's in Belgium. It's kind of Central Europe, so there's a lot of travel and there's a lot of folks who come in specifically for this event. I think the WTC itself only has 360 actual players on the teams. This event is much larger, but a lot of the players, regardless, are from those 360 that play in the Teams event. So one thing that we'll see is that a lot of these players are just using it for practice for the actual Teams event, and they're just playing their Teams lists. So you see some really wild stuff. You see stuff in singles events or in this singles event that you would never see in a different singles event, because these players are coming in playing their team events. All right, let me take a peek and take down some of the events that the list that I wanted to look at. The LVO of Europe, yeah, I mean, I guess so, basically. Damn, Legion in chat, what's up? How's it going? World Eaters 30 Terminators lost in a mirror match, brutal. There's Double Monolith. Yeah, I saw Double Monolith over on War Games Live. I wouldn't say that's like necessarily kind of like super crazy. But it definitely is, it is the ski that you would expect to see from team events. So we'll go down the list here and we'll pick out some interesting factions. I'm sure that there's going to be interesting lists inside these. Our Node Elo over here rocking some Hyperphase Legion, Hypercrpt Legion, with a bunch of destroyers. Yeah, so this one has 10 Lich Guard in it, which is interesting. Only 5 Immortals. 5 Immortals. We have a Translocation Shroud Overlord, but we don't have any Cryptex whatsoever. We left our Cryptex at home. Who needs them? Plus Death Marks, Flayed Ones, Triple Locust Destroyer, 2 units of Heavy Destroyers, Lich Guard, 1 Monolith, Scorpec Destroyers, double Scorpec Destroyers. Wow, so this is like, this list is wild. This list is very melee-focused, Hypercrypt Legion. We're basically like, we're just windmill slamming that Temporal Corridor. And I guess the ability now that the Lords have, where you can discount the stratagems, at least from the Translocation Lord, on whatever unit he's locked into. So you can Temporal Corridor cheap for less expensive. That's a big deal, because that makes it that much more reasonable. The other thing that you can do with these guys now is you can rapid ingress for free that you couldn't before. So any of these CP cost reduction effects are super duper impactful for sure. Shout out to Ennis's triple Moloch. Yeah, Ennis Wilson's on Space Marines. At least according to what this said.
Could you tell us what are your final thoughts on the Gene Stealer / Broodlord combo after all the hype and testing them out yourself? Amazing? Overhyped? Good? Or
Right.
trash?
Ryan, thank you for the super chat, my guy. Yeah, so there's a little context, which is that I've been playing triple Broodlord, triple Gene Stealer. I've been playing actually a couple different lists with Broodlords and Gene Stealers in it because I don't understand that unit. I don't understand a 250 point like forward operator that with like kind of mediocre threat range and mediocre melee output. And I think so far wildly overhyped. In Vanguard Onslaught, I don't think that they're like just bad. I think that having a unit like that can force your opponent to screen super heavily is like very useful. I don't know if you necessarily need it as much in that detachment if you're taking a lot of lictors and stuff because your opponent's already incentivized to do that. But having like the reactive ability to scout is very useful. But in other detachments, super trash. They're so bad. Like an 8-inch move melee unit that's like doesn't kill when it charges is like just really terrible. And even in Vanguard Onslaught, I think 3 is like so many. 3 feels like you're just crossing your fingers and you're hoping that you don't run into a matchup where your opponent has any infiltrators whatsoever. And if you dodge those matchups, that's great. But if you don't, then you lose immediately. So you're paying like 700 points to give yourself a super bizarre matchup into a lot of stuff. One seems fine in that detachment. 3 is like, what are we doing here? I would take Exocrines instead because Exocrines are great, and having guns is good. Yeah, maybe 2 max. You just play against bad players. Yeah, just play against players who left all their infiltrators at home. I hope they forgot. They literally just forgot how forward operating works. Yeah, too expensive for sure. Yeah, if it wasn't for the trade, because a lot of times it's a trading unit, right? Like you're gonna be, I'll go like take that piece. I'll buy myself some board presence. I'll buy myself some tempo, and that's fine. But you're almost always trading down. But usually it's okay because you're alpha striking and you're setting the line of scrimmage like on their deployment line, which is really what Vanguard Onslaught wants to do. That would be much more palatable if it didn't cost you like. So many points. 230 points. Just insane, dude. Tabletop Live, what's up, dude? Off to bed for Warmaster Day 2. Yeah, it must be freaking late as hell over there. I guess like 10 p.m. probably, right? They're +6. Thank you. We were just talking about your coverage, man. Appreciate you. Thank you for dropping in the coverage. I actually watched back through a bunch of your games earlier today after your stream went offline. And it looked good. It was good stuff, and I'm impressed that you guys were able to make it out there. So hopefully it works out for you. I know that's an expensive trip for sure. Been playing Synaptic Nexus. Feel they have some of the best strats the faction can offer. I agree with that for Synaptic Nexus for sure. Yeah, 100%. Synaptic Nexus, I think, is it's funny because I wish that Synaptic Nexus's Armor of Contempt was usable on stuff in Synapse range instead of just stuff that was Synapse. Maybe it would be too strong, but the weird part is like when you compare it to Vanguard or Invasion Fleet, like the one very important difference, like impactful difference, is that Invasion Fleet has a defensive strat for everyone instead of just their Synapse creatures. And I think that's why a lot of people drift towards Invasion Fleet, but Synaptic Nexus just has so many like weird tools. They're a little like Mortal Wound Grenade thing, just like sometimes ends games because you're like, oh, I failed my random battle shock check. You're like, I killed that unit. It's not going to score whatever in any secondaries. It's just dead. We don't have to deal with it. Get out of here. Definitely I like that one for sure. Maori with the hot take. I don't know if saying Synaptic Nexus is good as a hot take. I think that's pretty. That feels like a cold take. To be honest, I think. I don't know. Interestingly, Tyranids still, despite the fact that I don't know, they feel really bad to play. At least speaking personally, they do not fit with a playstyle that I appreciate. I don't know if they're like not like just totally worthless, but I think I don't think that they fit the way that I like to play Warhammer. In 10th edition. In previous editions, they did very much so, but not now. But I do think that they do have interesting internal balance because I think straight up 3 of their detachments are just good, and 2 more are like on the cusp. Assimilation Swarm and Crusher Stampede still like put up results. The only one that you really just like write off is like Unending Swarm now, I think, but maybe it's even fine. I don't know. I'm not even sure. Has the Vanguard list worked for me? No, not really. I won the first game with it. That I'm 2 rounds in so far with the tournament with it. I won the first game pretty convincingly, and then I hit Skitarii Vanguard, and like it just screens the whole board, and I'm like, okay, well, I think it was a 10-point loss. Like I didn't get blown out or anything, but it was definitely, I don't think that list has an out for that matchup. Like if you don't win the deployment roll off, the game's just over. If you don't win, I think both the deployment roll off and the roll to go first, I think the game's over, which is not a great place for it to be. So I don't love it. I don't love the all melee Vanguard list. I think if I had ranged attacks, that would have been much easier to play for sure. Which Screamer Killers were good? It does feel like they are pretty good. I don't know. But I think they're too expensive still for their low speed. They like if they were speed 10, I think you would be like much more interested in them. The problem is their speed's like so shitty, and they still don't go through walls, so they get trapped by stuff a lot. I don't know why their base is so big either. It's just a poorly designed model, like all around, to be honest. Which is just like, that's just classically Tyranids in 10th edition. You're like, why did you make this design choice? It makes this unit very bad and hard to play with. And the design team's like, I don't know. Fuck you. Vanguard Onslaught has so many infiltrators to counter other infiltrators. Not if they deploy them first, though. Like, that only works if you can place your infiltrators down. If they just string an infiltrating unit across the board and fill the entire mid board, you can't do anything. So it's like, what? That one's very silly. That's why you have to win the deployment roll. If you lose the deployment roll, it's all ogre. And I think that's my other problem with the Broodlord like package, right? If you're putting a third of your army into Broodlords and your opponent screens your scout move, you lose. Like you've lost the game. You put a third of your army into a unit that is just bad. It's just unoptimal. If they let you scout and do whatever you want, that's probably fine. But then it's probably a game you're winning anyway. I don't know if that would really help. Trying to use Screamer Killers to proc Battle Shock in the 4 games you tested. They did nothing? That is not my experience with Screamer Killers. I think I played 2 and Death Leaper. And I might have been playing Invasion. And 2 of them with the situational -2 stack was almost always enough to Battle Shock whatever I needed. And then I just like guns just killed whatever Battle Shocked at that point. Just just win every roll off. Easy game. we have derailed quite a bit. That's what happens when somebody super chases me and get me to talk about Tyranids. I feel very strongly about Tyranids, Jeff. Why aren't there hive tyrants in that anymore? Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for like things to actually kill people and have a bunch of attacks, Haro Spexes are much better. The only benefit that Screamer Killers have is that they force the Battle Shock check. They force like very like pretty reasonable Battle Shock checks. So like the only reason, and to be honest, I think that the nerf to Neurolictors, the more expensive Neurolictors, did actually hurt Screamer Killers. If Neurolictors were at their release points value, and you could take 3 of them pretty reasonably, then Screamer Killers would feel much better, because forcing additional battle shock checks on your opponent just has insane value. But because you're like, Neurolictors are like maybe 2 if you're like really want them. Then you're having trouble. You're struggling. You're on the struggle bus, fitting all that support into your list. Good thoughts on Hive Tyrant, Winged Hive Tyrant Swarmy? I'm only 1 game in with Swarmlord, and he's been good so far, but I gotta play more games with Swarmlord and the Tyrant. The Hive Tyrant, one of the 2 Tyrants, definitely feels like the first inclusion, and I think Swarmlord's like the secondary maybe. I'm less impressed by Swarmlord than I kind of expected to be honest, but I think he's still good. The Hive Tyrants are like, the Foot Hive Tyrant is just an absolute monster now, though. That guy is unironically just a windmill slam. If you're not in Vanguard Invasion, or Vanguard Onslaught, I should say, just you start every list with a Hive Tyrant and Neuro Tyrant. The Foot Hive Tyrant is just incredible. He's like, most of the time, he takes enhancements really well, because like if he gets rerolls or he gets damage reduction or feel no pain or something, he gets like actually like legitimately difficult to kill. On top of the fact that he's also giving you probably 8 CP worth of value per game, and he's also like an actually reasonable melee threat now. Plus, he makes your army faster with assault and gives you lethal hits. Like, it's crazy the amount of value from that guy. He's amazing. 240 for T10, 10 wounds. Yeah, but he's not a melee thing, right? Like he's 100. Not even. He's like 140 points of support, and then you pay 100 points for the melee profile at the end. You know what I mean? Because you never, like, realistically, the goal is not to commit the Hive Tyrant until round, like, 3 or 4. And at that point, he's, like, closing the game, right? He's your anchor melee piece to, like, kill stuff on the middle objective. And so you're not there to be like, oh, I'm going to use Hive Tyrants to trade for stuff. Like, no. He's there to be like, oh, if there's a tank that's, like, taking a shot already, I'm going to kill it. Like towards the end of the game, but most of the game you just keep him like in the mid line and you keep him hiding, and he just projects his auras the entire game. And as a support unit, like, he's worth at least 150 points just for his support effects. And then you also get value out of his profile after that. Yeah, the permanent lethal hits is really good for sure. Yeah, 100%. That one's really strong. All right, chance. Should we dive off of the the Tyranid discussion? This is what Ennis Wilson's playing. I think this is the list that he was playing last week as well. It's a normal Dark Angels Gladius Task Force list. It's actually not that interesting, but it is a good list, so it is what it is. Frank Otto from Breaking Heads is rocking some Chaos Knights with a Chaos Cerastus Atropos. Does the Chaos Cerastus Atropos have a different ability than the... he's got to, right? Because he doesn't have a Bondsman ability. Than the Imperium one. Oh, I can't find him. Oh, it's an Atropos, not Atropos. I actually don't know what this thing does in the Chaos faction. But I'm sure we'll find out in a sec. Yeah. So he grants War Dogs hit rerolls against Titanic or Towering. So good in the mirror match, but generally not that useful. But it still has all of the other effects that the Cerastus Atropos has. Just take a quick peek at Wahapedia over here. So for those who... we talked about this guy a little bit over the Invitational, but he's a really interesting profile because unlike many of the big knights, he's not focused into a single into like only having one he's not only good at one thing. So you can think about like despoilers usually like double guns. The rampagers all melee all the time. You can take the one gun and one melee version, but then he's like a jack of all trades, masters of none, right? He's kind of slow. He's not that hard to kill. He doesn't shoot very good. He melee's fine, but like you're not really getting the full effectiveness out of each one of those strengths. The Atropos is kind of the opposite. He's fast, and he has a baked-in invulnerable save, so he's not hard to or he's not easy to kill. Plus, he has more wounds than a standard like Despoiler chassis. On top of that, he has 2 really strong anti-tank guns, right? Sustained hits, strength 14, AP 3, damage 4, plus this big devastating wound, like hazardous gun. Blast weapon that's d6 plus 1 damage. So he himself will probably, especially with some help, kill an armored vehicle or a tank or something. He also can get stuck in melee using the las cutter as well. So unlike a lot of these profiles, he's not restricted to one phase. He can still use his speed and use his board presence and get onto objectives and still kill people while having 2 arms worth of guns, which is super useful. Plus, he's also getting +1 to hit against monsters and vehicles. You get a bonus against Titanic and Towering. Less useful, but maybe good if you're like up against those monoliths we just talked about. But +1 to hit against monsters or vehicles, which is largely going to be what he's targeting with these weapon profiles, means he hits on 2 space. So this dude is just like efficiency made manifest, right? He's just really good. We saw him see some play in Imperial Knights, but it looks like he's also seeing some play now in Chaos Knights because he's basically just like, he's his own man, right? He doesn't need any help from any of these guys. 4 War Dog Brigands, 5 War Dog Carnivores, a Bloodletter unit with a Bloodmaster is the ally. What is that? Definitely, it's kind of that's interestingly another sort of another like high OC thing that can go punch people on objectives. The carnivores are usually the first thing to die in this list because they're so aggressive and they're so fast. So usually by round 3 you'll find that there's no carnivores left in your list. But having this melee unit that can sit in the back of the sit in your reserves pool until round 3, and then either you bring them in or you rapid ingress them. They do have an 8-inch charge out of Deep Strike because they have an Instrument of Chaos, but if you rapid ingress them, their charge is really easy typically, and they can flip an objective pretty quickly. That's really cool, actually. Plus, you're not actually that worried about having the Bloodmaster attached, because the normal downside is that this dude, he comes in, he gives the unit +1 wound, if I remember correctly, which makes him pretty good at killing like a very wide variety of profiles, and he himself hits pretty hard. He's a strength 5 AP 3 damage, and the but the typically like you'll give up an assassination when he comes in, but Chaos Knights don't really worry about assassination that much because they only have one character anyway. So the only time it's really bad against them is if somebody draws an assassination the turn after their bloodletters come in, and you're not really worried about that so much. I guess you could also draw like an overwhelming force, and you get 2 kills for that, but that's not something that Chaos Knights can really deny anyway. Edgero's good into Volgons. I could see it. He seems a little inconsistent into the Paragon Warsuits because of this profile, right? If you're shooting this profile, you are in threat range, and it's a random shot count at AP 3. The problem is that AP 3 into cover and AOC saves on 3s. So you really need to be getting cover ignoring or AP 4 to kill them reliably, I think, has been my experience. He probably gets 1. If he rolls like an average of 4 and hits 4 and wounds, I guess he should probably get 3 wounds through. So he should kill 1 with the las cutter and maybe 1 with the singularity cannon, which is probably enough that he doesn't die to the crackback. But it's a little inconsistent because who knows if he will just do nothing. Is there somebody running an all Greater Demons list? Yes. Yeah, I'm actually... I'm going to pull up that list I posted it into the Discord earlier, and here we go. And I want to see, he was 2-0. The reason I posted it is when I looked at it, he was 2-0. Oh, looks like he lost the game. Ryan, you're killing me, my guy. But I was like flipping through lists, and he was right at the top because he had 2 20-point wins, rounds 1 and 2. What is that? This list is insane. He's rocking Be'lakor, a Bloodthirster, another Bloodthirster, a Guo, Kairos, a Lord of Change, Radagast. That's it. That's the list. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Greater Demons. That's it. That's all we brought. I love this list, chat. This list makes my little Timmy heart so happy. Oh my god. It's I don't know. It's so interesting. It's interesting that it would be high scoring. I like the combination of like Be'lakor is so wild because he's at the same time very synergistic with the Greater Demons because the shooting reduction, sort of the shooting, like the range restriction aura that he provides forces enemies to come closer to you. And a lot of times you'll hear people say like, oh, the Be'lakor's aura doesn't really do that much because a lot of times the ranges in 40k are such in 10th edition, and especially if you're playing on tight terrain layouts, that the opponent's going to be in 18 inches anyway. And you're like, yeah, but the point is that you're going to force them to be inside 18 inches, and then they die, right? So if they push super far forward and they come in, let's say they kill the Lord of Change. Your Lord of Change ports out, kills something, they kill it back. They're automatically within probably 20 inches of Be'lakor, which means that Be'lakor just runs up to them and drops a Bloodthirster next to them and kills them with it. So, like, there's no... the downside of not playing Be'lakor is that your opponent can play the range game with you, and demons sometimes have trouble closing that gap unless they like nesting doll themselves out, which is a little tough because you're committing like 600 points to do that. But Be'lakor basically like constraining the size of the battlefield so that your opponent has to be right next to you makes like all of these weapon profiles much better. He can, theoretically like nesting doll out anyone, so he can also just be throwing Bloodthirsters at people, which is also cool. But that's one of the reasons that Be'lakor is really strong. But most of the time people drop him, and I've actually dropped him in my lists now that you don't need his shadow aura all the time, because you want utility units, and he doesn't really do any damage. Like, he himself is basically a utility unit because his damage for points is very bad. But Ryan over here is just like, fuck it. 4K no los dos. We'll just do both here. I'll play Be'lakor and all the Greater Demons. Don't worry about it. Oh my god. Be'lakor lets you drop in the Guos. I mean, you can also, like, a lot of times the unless you're pulling, your like objectives are screened out or something, a lot of times you pull the Guo and then drop him out of Radagast, which is helpful. I think the big thing is that he delivers Bloodthirsters without other Bloodthirsters having to deliver the Bloodthirsters. Like, one weird thing about the Bloodthirsters is that if you're dropping multiple Khorne units, the first one has to be 9 inches away, so it probably doesn't make its charge, and they don't do anything outside of charging, right? And so the second one will make it in probably, but you're like, it's too big of a committal. But I think Be'lakor helps you by doing other things and then being able to drop a Bloodthirster without having to commit the second one, and then you can keep the second one to ingress or to do other stuff with. Yeah, there is a rumor going around that demons are getting like the Agents of the Imperium treatment. They're just getting rolled into Chaos Space Marines, into all the different Chaos Space Marine factions. I don't know how much stock I put into it because of there are undivided demon options, right? So what we'd have to see. It would be sad to lose them as like a holistic army. And as someone said, like, how would you play Be'lakor? Like, maybe he gets his own index? I don't know. Maybe they just keep the index. They'll just be like, fuck it. You play an index and then with Be'lakor, and then you can play other stuff. It would be unfortunate, though, if that is how that worked, yeah. They're a weird faction to balance around. I can understand, like, the reasoning why, because it's essentially 4 armies that you have to design in concert, right? Because you have to build almost 5. You have to build like internal synergies within 4 distinct sub-factions that can then also work independently or together equally as good. And that's probably very difficult. And I imagine they just don't want to do that. It's too hard. I don't like it. Like, if you start focusing detachments around like specific gods, right? Like whichever god has like slightly better data sheets is just gonna be the best one. And I don't know if that's like a direction they want to go in. But if you don't focus like allegiant detachments, like what do you do with the faction, right? So it's a weird. I don't know if they work particularly well with like how 10th edition has been designed. Be'lakor goes into Chaos Knights. That would suck. That is lore accurate though. Be'lakor has his own. He does have his own household. That's where Knights of Shade comes from. That's why Chaos Knights have Knights of Shade, is because Be'lakor taught them how to move through walls. That used to be his detachment stratagem, for his subfaction. All right, we're going down the list. We got some Chaos Knights action. We got some. There's a little bit of Imperial Knights going on. I don't know if it's super exciting stuff. Canis Rex, an Anthropos, a Lancer. Fair enough. Warglaves, Eversor Assassin. Should have taken Knights of WTC. Well, you got it in the Warmasters there, William. That's the second thing. I think sort of getting down towards the more middling results of these undefeated lists, however, we start to see some spice. We get a little Ynnari action from Hugo Ricciardi. Actually, a Kevin Zollinger. I'll take a peek after this. Running just your brain in a Wave Serpent. Triple Dark Reapers. Who cares about indirect fire nerfs, chat? We're firing Tempest Launchers all frickin' day. This is another list that I think gets... This might actually be a little bit of a response to Adeptus Mechanicus. I think these indirect fire platforms that can pick out like their individual characters or like their little utility units is probably pretty impactful. We have a Howling Banshee unit that can jump in, and Striking Scorpions can jump into the Wave Serpent. 2 units of Swooping Hawks, a Harlequin Troop. Actually, it's a Wave Serpent, not a Falcon, right? So it's actually probably taking the huge unit in it. 2 units of Warp Spiders, a Kabalite Warrior Squad, Lilith Hesperax. No witches, though. That's actually pretty common. We've been seeing Lilith with no witches more often. She's a little low AP without witches attached, but it seems like she's okay. She's probably also kind of an annoying heroic intervention like threat because she has fights first. So at any point you could just like sit her behind a wall in an awkward position, and she'll just come in and blow you up if you try to like do chicanery on your objectives. You try to like throw 10 idiots onto an objective, and she just comes in and murders you. 3 units of Scourges, all Haywire Blasters. Oh, 1 Dark Lance and 3 Haywire Blasters. Oh, that's a cool loadout, actually. I've never seen that before, but that makes total sense. You only have the 1 floating reroll in Battle Host, so that gets used on the Dark Lance. The downside of the Haywire Blasters is that you usually have too many attacks for your 1 reroll to really like meaningfully change the math. So the Haywire Blasters, you're just trying to like out volume people, but then the Dark Lance, you basically get a full reroll in the Dark Lance thanks to the Battle Host attachment ability. That's rad. I actually really like that. The downside, obviously, is you hit like Tyranids. At least you still have Dark Lances. I have played against Eldar players who are like majority Haywire Blasters, and they play into like Tyranids or Demons. They play against all the armies that I play, and they don't do anything. But having the 1 Dark Lance in there, I guess, shores you up a little bit. It means that they're still useful. I like that. I like that build. Oh, there are witches in this list. They're just really far down the line, which is weird. And we do have a Venom, probably to split the Kabalite warriors, to be fair. Are witches not battle line, chat? Usually witches, I guess it might just be the export. Usually witches just get listed inside the... Oh, it's maybe because they're allies, so they get like amalgamated together. Usually witches get listed with Kabalite warriors. So if you see Kabalite warriors and not witches next to them, that means there's no witches. But I think that's because they're in the allied section. No, it makes sense. Don't understand the Dark Reapers. Yeah, it might be... A part of it might be that it's a little bit of a like a WTC thing, where if you're threatening a bunch of indirect fire, you can't necessarily play mirrors into a list like that, right? Because if you're like rocking, oh, I'm running around the table with a bunch of swooping hawks and warp spiders, like at any point those units could just die. So it creates like weird matchup issues against like enemy light infantry, and I also think that it probably helps against like the T3 armies of the game. So stuff like Sisters, just being able to like pound into their little like their backline Dominion squads, their stuff that disembarks, their novitiates, and being able to kill that stuff before it starts scoring you a lot of points is definitely super useful. I get it. Plus, like, it's not like you're upset to have like Reaper launchers, right? That's just another an additional sort of amount of combined damage you can do to your opponent. All right, we wanted to look at number 2. Kevin Zollinger. I think he's a Black Templars main, right? Is he Black Templars guy? We are on Ironstorm. Oh, Imperial Fist today. Ooh, that's spicy. Oh, does Loath not have fights first baked in? Did I misspeak there, chat? Maybe I'm thinking of Jane Czar. I think I must be. If my computer would let me click on links, then I could look at her datasheet. Holy shit. No, she has fights first, chat. Get out of here. What are you doing? You're trying to trick me. You're trying to trick me. Think I didn't know my rules. She got fights first right there. Unless it's a bad data sheet. If it's a bad data sheet, I'm sure somebody can correct me. And if I did find a typo in Wahapedia. I found one typo in Wahapedia. It's been like 3 years, but we found one typo. A rule got updated in the codex and they didn't change it, but I got them to change it very quickly. Hopefully that's not one of them, though. That would be very embarrassing. Okay. So we're looking at Imperial Fist today. Ironstorm Spearhead. Is this actually Imperial Fists, or is they just put down Imperial Fists? There's no actual Imperial Fist units, right? So this is just a regular ass list. An Adept of the Omnissiah Tech Marine, so he's got the damage blank. An Intercessor Squad. 3 Jump Pack Assault Intercessors. Normal stuff. Gladiator Reaper, Gladiator Reaper, Gladiator Reaper, Predator Destructor, Predator Destructor, Predator Destructor. 3 Scout Squads, 3 Vindicators. You got, what, 9 tanks? Let's go. No. Yeah, 9 tanks. All the Reapers, all the Destructors, all the Vindicators. I mean, that's very classic, right? You have a very, it's a nice, you've got an answer for every occasion. You gotta kill infantry, Gladiator Reapers. Heavy infantry, Terminators, Predator Destructors. You need to just kill fucking whatever, here's a Vindicator. Very classy. All right, chat. Well, let's settle this Lilith Hesprax thing. I'm gonna pull out her datasheet. We're gonna look at the honest to God datasheet. I don't know, chat. I don't know what to tell you. Clearly, Lilith doesn't have fights first, and she's not attached to a character. I think the rule just erases itself from her datasheet. I don't know. It's right there. I think that this clause in the rule probably makes it so that I think it's intended so that they can be selected to fight it during the fight's first step, even when she's leading a unit that doesn't fight first. I don't know if fights first turns off if not everyone in the unit has it. This is a tangent. I will grant this tangent exactly 30 seconds. Okay, no, it actually does, yeah. So if the entire unit does not have fights first, then she loses it. So if her rule didn't have this clause and she jumped into a witch unit, she actually would not fights first. But because it does, then it works fine, which is why she has it. But even if she's by herself, she still fights first, regardless, because she's just on her datasheet. She doesn't get her cool +1 AP though. She sits at AP 2, which is a little sad, but it is what it is. Yeah, I don't know if there's any other instances of a character that has fights first that can join a unit that doesn't fights first. There's like a Judiciar. They give their unit fights first, right? A Judiciar. While leading a unit, that unit has fights first, so that hits everybody. Oh, but he loses his fights first if he's not attached. So the Judiciar does work like you're saying, where if he's not attached to the unit, his Temporal Mortis doesn't do anything. But I don't know if there's anyone who goes the other way. I'm sure there is somewhere. Somebody could answer. Maybe a demon, maybe a Slaanesh thing. So that sounds very Slaanesh-y. All right, we looked at some Eldar. Let's talk about... should we go back into Tyranids today, chance? Is it Tyranids time? All right, first of all, this man's name is Jewel Champion. Are you kidding me? Can we trade names? You can be Trevor. I want to be Jewel Champion. God damn it. This is a person whose parents loved them very much and expected great things from them. Old Jewel Champion over here. That's such a cool name. I'm jealous. We've got a Hive Tyrant, a Neuro Tyrant, Old One Eye. This is an invasion fleet. This seems pretty classic. We got the 2 Carnivores. Oh, 1 billion Raveners in this list, though, so that's sweet. Gargoyles, 2 units of 10 Termagants. A Biovore for scoring, a Neurolictor, 12 Raveners, a unit of 6 and 2 units of 3. I think the 6 is really interesting because you can just use them to kill people. They're just fine, doing a murder. Once they're neuroloided, they go to strength 6, and you can give them critical 5-up, lethal, or sustain, and they have 42 attacks. So even if you're trying to stab a vehicle to death, and if you're winning on 5s, right? Hitting on 3s, winning on 5s, you're expecting 14 lethals, and then another probably 6 or 7 saves. So they're probably good for 10 damage onto a regular ass T11 vehicle, 3-up save vehicle. If you're windmill slamming all the strats on them. If you're hitting smaller stuff, if you're hitting infantry, they'll kill it. The whole world. And they're a high base movement. So the fact that you don't have an advance in charge in this detachment, unlike in Vanguard Onslaught, doesn't matter so much for them. So unlike melee warriors, they don't get stranded quite as much. Plus, you can use them as just a reserve threat too. So they're really scary in the backline, just clearing all your backline stuff. That's rad. I think that's really cool. 2 Carnifexes, 2 Exocrines, 2 Maleceptors, kind of standard otherwise. Don't get shot on the way in? Yeah, I mean, it's like they're fast enough movement that you hide in good positions. They're also not that big. They're just on like a 40 mil base, and they actually, the Ravener miniature, it's very interesting. Despite being a big snake, the Ravener miniature actually like fits on top of the base very snugly. So unlike fucking stupid ass warriors that have like a big tail and big swords and like extend their base a lot and end up being artificially larger than the unit like should be, Raveners are actually like little guys. They're just little guys. And yeah, they're actually like much easier to hide than you think they are. Yeah, no, this seems sweet. Pretty classic, but I like the Ravener inclusion. That's a cool pivot. They're little snaky boys, chat. Let's see. Alvaro Enciso Ruiz, rocking some Astra Militarum. A Tempestus Command Squad is already an interesting selection. I'm excited to see where this goes. No, so far, extremely standard. Very standard. So we have the whole combo. Lord Solar Leontis, Ursula Creed, Command Squad, Tank Commander, normal. 3 Catachan Jungle Fighters, Bulgrin, 2 Earthshakers, 2 Leman Russ and Rogodorn, and a big Tempestus Gun Squad. So basically just pivoting into the huge, the big Deep Strike Pew Pew Gun Squad. I think it's so interesting how I think we talked about it 2 weeks ago, but the inclusion of like these the secret missions have really given Astra Militarum a new lease on life because of how they interact with Tempestus Scions. The ability for Tempestus Scions to basically like automatically score out secondaries is like a big deal. Yeah, I mean the Tempestus were always good. I'm not really sure why they got a points discount. I think that people were going to start... Like, people were already using them for utility. And you could, like... I mean, I have a whole video on how much damage you do if you go all in on the Wombo combo. But, like, they just buffed them. So I think people were already, like, angling towards taking them. And then they were like, and they're better. And here's a mission pack that's really conducive to them. And you're just like, cool. I'll take them in every list. Like, okay. Jean-Marc, that's true, actually. Yeah, they're only battle line if you don't have Lord Solar Leontis and you have the command squad. Yeah. No, that's a good call. So they don't do the secret mission thing so well. But I think they're still like just a good unit for sure. Yeah, I forgot about that part. I think that's so interesting, and I kind of wish, as a little bit of an aside, I kind of wish they did more of that. Because, especially with, like, characters that have to be the Warlord, them kind of artificially blocking off other really powerful combos is really cool. Like, it's like a... That one specifically is like, oh, I could take so many Tempestus Scions, and they're so good if I don't take Lord Solar. But also Lord Solar is so good. And so it's like a real tension. I think Lord Solar is probably more reasonable, like, in the long run, right? But if you're building for the Tempestus Scions, you leave them at home. And I think that's really cool. I wish they did more stuff like that. Trying Scions with a Crassus? That sounds fucking rad. That's just the big fire support. Big daddy fire support. The downside is that, like, it's a big Crassus, and Scion squads are little. And you very rarely need... I guess unless you're not running any of, like, the special characters and stuff. You very rarely need, like, all the Scions to shoot at something. Usually you'll kill it with like 1 or maybe 2 squads. So being able to only select one fire support target is a little bit awkward for that guy. So I like the Torox Primes a little bit more. Jacob Edvinson over here running some pretty weird Chaos Demons. He's got Be'lakor, a Soul Stealer, Keeper of Secrets, and Shalaxi Hellbane plus Celeste, plus 30 Demonettes, Fiends, Flamers, Screamers, Seeker Chariot, Slaaneshi Soulgrinder. Wild. I think that the Slaanesh Soulgrinder has the blast attack. Is that right? But it's also a Slaanesh Demon, so it gets the AP bonus from the Keepers of Secrets. The Slaanesh one gets the Scream of Despair, which is... Oh, it's not Blast, it's Sustained Hits. 6 shots, Strength 9, AP 2, 2 damage, Devastating, Sustain 1. And then the Keeper of Secrets, I believe it actually also buffed their ranged attacks. Okay, or my browser could just be broken. Well, ripperonis, I guess. This is really busted. What's happened? Oh, it's plus 1 AP in melee, specifically, I guess. So it doesn't affect their ranged attacks, unfortunately. That's too bad. But I guess if you take, like, the sword... He has the claw, so he's AP 4... AP 2? Yeah, alright. Theoretically, gets up to AP 2. I guess having a devastating weapon is probably higher like value than just like the one weird go away. The one weird like Zine shot that is like super spiky. That's the one the other people take. Or I guess the Nurgle one has the indirect fire gun, which is kind of cute, but there's no internal synergy in this detachment with that at all. I think that it's been interesting that I think Demonettes have kind of had a new lease on life. Just as the cheap demon option, like being fast at OC2 is already kind of pretty good. The Fiends are an interesting inclusion too, because a lot of times you expect Seekers in that slot to like forward operate, but I guess not today. We're just we're rocking Fiends for the extra damage, I guess. The Seeker Chariot's super cute. I love this little guy. He oftentimes will just sit on an objective, and they're I think 8 wounds, the 4+ save. They're actually just kind of difficult to kill. They're unexpectedly difficult to kill. You think you can point 2 last cannons at them and call it a day because they're 60 points, but no, that thing lives actually. Got some Grey Knights over here from Lachlan Rigg. Who's just demanding uppies. Why not horrors in the list? Because horrors cost 40 more points and our move 6. Like the goal of Demonettes is that they can start on the table. And they're like, you can advance and charge them when they're near literally anything. So they're very fast. And they're OC2. They're like fine at clearing light infantry. The horrors don't really do any damage, and they're very slow, but they're extremely durable. So it's a very different. They're 2 extremely different styles of units, right? Demonettes are very aggressive, and horrors are very defensive. Plus, you're basically losing like an entire extra utility unit for every horror unit you take, almost, just about. We got Grey Knight, Brotherhood Tech Marine, Double Brotherhood Tech Marines, 3 Nemesis Grandmasters, Kaldor Drago. A Terminator squad for Kaldor Drago. No librarians in this list. We've left our librarians at home. 2 strike squads, 3 Nemesis Dreadknights. Classic. It's classic list. We're back, chat. The Nemesis Dreadknights, ma'am, is back. I like the double strike squads, though. I think we've been seeing, several more Grey Knight players. I don't want to say like too many lists are taking them, but a lot of times you take the 0 to 1 strike squad to like lock your home objective, and then you can leave it, and it's fine. We've been seeing more people take just the basic bitch strike marines. And I think in these lists that are like kind of light on the ground, right? You don't have that many units, physical units. Having these scouting units that can buy you board space definitely feels like it's super helpful. They also help you on turn 1 when you're not teleporting. They give you a little bit more utility in the middle of the table. Points increase, just still take 6, whatever. I think that I mean I have to imagine too, right? If sisters are like a problem, you can imagine that this like heavy Psy Cannon, heavy Incinerator loadout on this unit that ignores cover like as base and has a relatively high AP is probably better than it's ever been. Especially because they themselves also have a high save characteristic, so they don't like necessarily automatically die to castigators. Plus they have a built-in invulnerable save. So they're actually almost any sisters thing that like pushes back into them, they actually are very resilient against. Also, like Mists of Deimos sounds fucking like a nightmare for a sisters player. At least you're screening well, I guess, but all your weapons only operate at like 9 inches. So if you just run away, they can't really do anything about it. Been running double strength squad as well. Works much better in Pariah Nexus. Yeah, I guess it also gives you extra battle line, right? So like worst case scenario, you can keep one hidden and then just windmill slam it back on the table round 5 for War of Attrition. Also, small OC2 stuff for taking like late game objectives and things. Makes sense to me. Play Nemesis Dreadknights because you don't have anything in the low 200 point range that kills anything. Yeah, you just take Librarians, and then you kill something in the low 100 point range. But you only have 3 of them, to be fair. That's not a perfect. That's not a particularly good comparison to Nemesis Dreadknights. I mean, I won't disagree. I think Nemesis Dreadknights are great. I just wish that they like what happened. Why did they make Purgation Squads like literally the worst unit ever? Why did they do that? They're like, guys, you can only ever kill people with Nemesis Dreadknights. That's the rule. You have a bunch of other units in the Codex, most of which don't see play because they don't do anything. But you can only kill people with Nemesis Dreadknights. Like, oh, okay. Well, we could have given a much better Psy Cannon profile to the Heavy Weapon Squad that carries a bunch of Psy Cannons around. They're like, no. Only good weapons are on Nemesis Dreadknights. Like, all right, man. Whatever you say, dude. Also, if you want like big vehicles and stuff, they can't teleport. The whole thing that the faction does, you can't do that. Only Nemesis Dreadknights. You're like, all right, I get it. We should play Nemesis Dreadknights. I understand. Granids kill their own librarians, dude. We have very different experiences. The last time I played against Grey Knights, he rolled every single. He was like 8 for 8 or something on his library, his Vortex of Dooms. And I was like, any one of these failing would be so big in this game. And he made all of them. And the librarians killed my whole fucking army. I was like, all right, man. I don't know what to do here. It was a funny game. I got absolutely destroyed. 3 librarians just dismantled me. They're like, here's another 6 damage. Here's another 6 damage. All right, dude. Please stop. Give Purgation some anti-keywords, at least some AP. Yeah, it's crazy. And they like even nerfed them again, like with the indirect fire change. Like, what are we doing, guys? I don't get it. Like, you could do interesting things with Grey Knights, and I think like, and maybe this is maybe I'm just knocking my microphone around. Holy shit. Maybe this is something that's going to come out in their codex, but like, you know, we were talking about it the other day, I think, on stream, that the like fire discipline combo for Space Marines basically takes any of those like really mediocre range profiles and turns it to 11, right? Like, it's any high volume infantry unit that has access to a fire discipline combo, right? 5-up critical with multiple critical effects immediately becomes good, right? You can just do that with Terminators. You can just, oh, what? Psy cannons aren't that good and storm bolters aren't that good. Turns out, if you have 10 of them and you give them the whole combo, they're actually probably fine, right? You take Paladin Squad, it's got 5 Psy cannons in it. They have 5 up lethals. Suddenly, this unit's actually doing work. Maybe you need ignore cover on those things too. AP1. It turns out AP1 doesn't kill shit in this game. That was a mistake that Games Workshop made at the release of the edition that they're still paying for. But like you could tweak the knob a little bit to make these units like good and interesting. And they just have put all their eggs in the demon in the Dreadknight basket. So that's what you got, I guess. A Gladius attachment copy paste called Tides of the Warp. Oh, the classic Tides of the Warp. Ooh. Who remembers Tides of the Warp from, was it was the expansion in 8th edition. Was it Ritual of the Damned? Was that the Tides of the Warp detachment in 8th edition? And it introduced the Tides of the Warp ability, and it was just the most convoluted thing that had ever been written. It was insane. At least in 9th edition, they like made it much easier. You just you choose your tide, then you cast the power to change it. And then in 8th edition, it was so complex. What's up, cat? You come and visit? Oh, come say hi to chat. Nah, she doesn't want to. Flat 3 mortal wounds on demons. Yeah, I had a friend who was playing demons at the time, and I picked up. Grey Knights when that book came out, and man, that poor guy, dude. That was so brutal. I was like, you get to bring back your guys infinitely with a stratagem, but it doesn't matter because I'll kill them again. Oh, gross. The flat 2 wound smite was very nice. Yeah, I remember. I think I played against the knight player, and like I killed an entire like big knight with smites, and he was just like, what the fuck? And I was like, I don't know, dude. I have like 15 of these things. I have like 12 units of 5. Let's go. Absolutely nuts. Yeah, it was 8th edition was there was a psychic power to change it, but there was a restriction on what it could change to, I think. I guess we could just look it up. It's not relevant, but it was you would switch between the shooting enhancement and the psychic enhancement, and the goal was to set it up so that at the beginning of the game you had to, or it was that you had to change it with a psychic power, but you could only change it once per round because it was a psychic power. So you could only flip between 2, and you had to flip at like the correct times to get use out of what you wanted to. So you would have like a big psychic turn, and then at the end of your big psychic turn, you would flip it back to the shooting doctrine, and then you would shoot with the shooting doctrine. But then if you wanted to flip it back to the psychic doctrine, you would lose the shooting doctrine the next turn. And so, like, identifying the exact time where that flip needed to happen was like super important. If you did it at the wrong time, you just lost immediately. That faction made my head explode. That made your fucking head, your brain leak out your ears. It was insane. Yeah, Lord Angster. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. But when you did it right, you just tabled people in like one turn, because you'd be like, here's 20 mortal wounds from the psychic phase, switch into shooting, here's 40 damage from shooting. Your opponent's just like, my army's dead. What has happened? It was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. You felt so big brain when you did it, though. You were like, I've sprung the trap. Should we talk about some friggin' Adeptus Custodes chat? This is a Talons of the Emperor detachment. Oh, finally! I feel like it's been a million years since everybody thought the Talons of the Emperor was good. I guess then they immediately buffed Shield Host, so it was less. Less time with that. Are there characters in this list? Oh, there is. The Warlord is Kyria Draxus. We just left all the characters at home. Blade Champions? Fuck them. We don't need them. Shield Captains? Who cares? Trajan, you got nerfed, so nobody gives a shit. It's 3 units of 3 Custodian, or 4 units of 4 Custodian Guard, excuse me. 4 units of 4 Custodian Guard. No fivers for Kyria Draxus to jump into. A unit of 2 Alaris Custodians, 2 units of Prosecutors, just standard Prosecutors, 2 units of Venatari, 4 Witch Seekers, 2 Caladius Grav Tanks, and an Anathema Psychona Rhino. So a big benefit of the Anathema Psychona Rhino is that it is Psychona key or Anathema Psychona keyworded. So it projects all of the benefits that Talons of the Emperor does. And it benefits from the duplicated stratagem. So the big benefit of Talons of the Emperor is that all your stratagems get to target both a shield host or a regular custodian unit plus an Anathema Psychona unit on top of that. The other thing is that they have a reactive move, which is kind of obnoxious, and you can... Where is the reactive move? That's Taloned Pincer. Yeah. So as long as you're within 6 inches of 2 units, you can bounce around with up to 2 of them, and having a Rhino available to you allows you to re-embark Anathema Psychona stuff into a Rhino. So you can run into the middle of the table, do actions, and then run back into the Rhino if you need them to. So yeah, a lot of this is just the Rhino is super useful at just triggering a lot of that those detachment bonuses. The fact that we are taking literally no characters here is sending me. It's so wild. But so far so good. This list is 2-0. And it's only 2 units of 3 Venatari. I think a lot of times you would expect to see the less characters because they can't attach to the Venatari Custodians, but we're only taking 2. But I mean, I guess that makes sense. If we're just doing skirmishing, we're basically just sitting in the middle of the table behind ruins with a bunch of Custodian Guard and using the Witch Seekers to bounce in and out of terrain and actually score points. I guess the Witch Seekers also let the Rhino scout, so you get a lot of extra forward pressure out of them because they also have scout. So you can get up to 2 Witch Seeker, or 3, even 3 Witch Seeker units inside a Rhino and scout with it. It's kind of cute. Potentially just flamer somebody on the top of 1. That's very technical, yeah, for sure. And then banked up by Grav Tanks. So if you can pick apart it with people with the Grav Tanks, right? You can put the Witch Seekers in a position to score, and you can use them to bounce with the Rhino. Then you're just sitting with potentially 3 units in Rapid Ingress, because you could Rapid Ingress these guys and then duplicate it with the 2 Venatari units. So you can put 8 Custodians wherever you want out of Rapid Ingress. And you're just sitting probably behind a wall somewhere with 12 or 16 Custodian Guard. So it feels like it plays... I imagine it plays relatively passively. But once you're engaged... This list actually does a lot of damage. You get a +1 to wound in melee strat, and you have a +1 AP with range strat. I wonder if that is relevant to the Caladius. God. What's the Caladius' base AP 3? I believe that's the case. And we are taking the laser beams, right? Yeah, heavy blaze cannons. So you can push them to AP 4 to punch through cover or damage reduction and stuff. Let me tell you, Chance. That is a that's gonna kill some Paragon Warsuits right there. Oh boy, you're like 8 shots lethal, twin linked AP 4, wound on 2s, and put the Paragons on the inbound save. Yeah, I guess it's only one Caladius Grav tank. But you can also get plus 1 AP to the Witch Seekers, I guess, if you need to. Yeah, it's cute. Oh, is it infantry locked? Oh, shit. Oh, it is infantry locked! The melee one is not. But that one is... Oh, that's fair. I missed that. I totally missed that. No, that's a good call out, chat. Oh, sad. You've dashed my hopes. You've raised my hopes and dashed them quite expertly, sir. Great on the Terminators. Yeah, that makes sense. You can push all the their grenades start at strength 5, right? You push them to strength 6, so they win things on 2s, with plus 1 AP, which is a big deal. Oh, strength 4, so it pushes to strength 5. Yeah, that is a good breakpoint. That's great on Terminators, actually. They're already AP1 on all their shots, too. Okay. Take more Terminators into this list. Seems great. Plus, also, Kyria Draxus' unit, right? Because you can get Kyria Draxus to AP1 as well, because she starts at AP0. Man, the stratagems for Talons of the Emperor are they're so strong. I think that people saw the upside of Talons. This is what sort of my perspective. I think that people saw the upside of the Talon stratagems, where you can target 2 units if, and they said, oh, the downside is that I must target an Anathema Psychona unit, right? That feels like a psychological trick that people would have done, like, performed on themselves. When in reality, it's strictly upside. If you want to target a second unit, you can, but you can just use it on 1 unit and it's fine. And the stratagems are still good. And I think a lot of people said, like, oh, if I have to take Psychona units to make these work, I'm not going to. And you're like, but you don't. And also, Anathema Psychona is not that bad. They're very good utility. Ren 5 reacted moving into a Land Raider. Yeah, we built a list on stream using a Coronis Grav Carrier. We were gonna try to in and out a Sagittor unit into a Coronis Grav Carrier, or a Sagittarius unit. But the Sagittarium Custodians are just fucking trash. I was like, hey, we get Fire's Discipline or Fire Support with a unit of dudes with devastating wounds. How bad could it be? Not good, I think, is the answer. That did not seem good. That list is cool, though. Talons of the Emperor, finally. Finally, we're seeing some success from them. It feels like it's been so long. Francisco Ventura, rocking Orcs today. Let's see what he's got going on over here. This looks like a War Horde. Yep. Kind of a brutal on a Beast Boss. Another Beast Boss. Boss Necrot. Gaskell Thraka. War Boss would follow me. Another War Boss. Double Beast Snega Lords with the 2 Beast Bosses. 3 trucks to carry them around. A Flash Kits unit. Double Gretchen. Mega Knobs for Gaskell. Knobs and Knobs for the War Bosses. 2 units of Stormboy. 3 units of Stormboys for utility. That's pretty standard. That's 20 Knobs, 20 Beast Snagga Boys. The Flash Kits are kind of interesting, but you need a gun, I think, in Orcs. I think that's the thing that Orc players sort of realized. Once Bedrock got nerfed, I think a lot of Orc players, they windmill slammed into what's the word? They went into Bully Boys and cut the Flash Kits, and then they didn't have any ranged attacks. So people just like went to jail them, right? And you're like, I can't clear hordes. I can't clear screens without my fucking Flash Kits. And so everybody started to put Flash Kits back in, which is good. I think you should also always have a gun. I always side-eye lists that have literally no guns at all. I feel like it's ripe for abuse. Somebody's gonna jail you with a bunch of cultists or something, and you're gonna feel bad about it. Little Black Templars action going on down here. We're in the 2, 0, and 1 category. Weiss Olivier is rocking a 10 Houseless Bones Castellan, a Chaplain Grimaldus, High Marshal Helbrecht. So yeah, we're in Righteous Crusaders. Combi Weapon Lieutenant as well. 30 Primaris Crusaders. Let's go. Oh, no, this is the big units. No, excuse me. 60 Primaris Crusaders. No! I was wrong. I was so wrong. It's 100. Oh, my God. We're playing Horde mode now, boys. Plus 2 Scout Squads. That's the whole list. This is the... This is the exact opposite. These people are just living their best lives over here. Oh my God. This is the exact opposite of that Demons list. This game just took nothing but Primaris Crusaders. Fuck it, we ball. Let's go. Run 100 infantry at you. Oh my God. That's fucking wild. And 4 of the 5 have attached characters too, so they can like switch their Crusader Vow. You get the defensive bonus from Tannhauser's Bones. Yeah, Chaplain Grimaldus makes your unit harder to kill too, so they're actually like they're pretty tough to punch through as well. Yeah, just deploy on the line, dude. Whatever. You're like, go second? Oh, let me scout real quick. Push your army forward. They're like, I can see those guys. Do you want to push them out a line of sight? You're like, nah. It's fine. Oh my God. Olivia Weiss. You're such a Chad. This is the battle line section, but in my head, because I think they're the exact same points value, in my head those were Sword Brethren. And I was like, all right, we got Castellan, like Grimaldus, Helbrecht, and Sword Brethren squads. We're going to go down and there's going to be Land Raiders. Nope. Are Sword Brethren literally the exact... Oh, no, Sword Brethren are even more expensive now, right? Because they're 30 points a model. I think they used to be 28 points a model, right? And there was 280 for a tenor. So, I totally misunderstood this list at the beginning. Yeah, they're 30 points a model now. And that was very funny to keep scrolling down and seeing additional Primaris Crusader squads. That's good stuff right there, chat. Little Space Wolves, Jordan Beresford. What are we rocking today? Stormlands Task Force. So I think there's a sub meta that doesn't see enough discussion inside the Space Wolves community, which is what variety of inside you there are 2 wolves meme is your list going to be titled. I think the one Brent Simon had a good one last week with the Stormlands Task Force. I think his was, inside you there are 2 wolves. That's too many wolves to be inside a person. This one is, inside you there are 2 wolves. One smokes crack. The other also smokes crack. You smoke crack. We got Canis Wolfborn, Logan on Stormrider, Ragnar Blackmane, Thunderwolf. So it looks like 2 Thunderwolf bricks, is that right? Maybe 3. No, we probably have 3, because there's 3 attachments. Assault Intercessor Squad, probably for Ragnar Blackmane. That's so interesting, because Ragnar Blackmane gives you advance and charge, and you already get that from the detachment. And he's 90 points, so he kind of feels a little pricey to me for inclusion in a Stormlands Task Force, but maybe I'm an insane person. I might be an insane person. We have an Impulsor for him to run around in. And then triple Thunderwolf Cavalry and a bunch of Wolfen. Yeah, it's kind of standard. That one's a little regular. Little Death Guard energy from Clement Cordeau. Is better in Blade Guard veterans. For the hit reroll? I think the problem with the Blade Guard veterans is that his strength isn't that good. He hits at like strength 8. And you can't +1 to wound him because he's not mounted. But the Assault Intercessors give him that thing, you know? Wound rerolls. It's just, he feels like he competes directly with a captain, and the captain's like cheaper. But maybe I'm a silly goose. Captain doesn't have the sustained hits, so he averages less attacks, but his attacks are also devastating, so I don't know. It feels like it's a wash, and one of them's cheaper than the other. But at least Ragnar's repeatable. If Ragnar somehow doesn't die on the crackback, then you get to do it again, which is kind of cute. We got double Biologus Putrefire, double Foul Blightspawn, double Plague Marine. So just 2 regular old Plague Marine bricks with 2 Rhinos in them, 2 Death Guard Cultists, triple Fetid Blood Drones, triple Plague Burst Crawlers, 2 War Dog Brigands. This list is like kind of sickeningly straightforward, pun intended. It just has 2 Death Guard, 2 Plague Marine bricks, like the 3 PBCs and the 2 Brigands, so like 5 tanks and then 3 Fetid Blood Drones, and then like that's the list. You're like, okay, there's nice like symmetry to it. These lists are a little bit more standard. These make me sad. Little Leagues of Votann. Broke here Ironmaster. No enhancements, it looks like. Double Hearthkin Warriors. 4 Sagittars today. Triple Chthonian Berserks. Double Land Fortresses. And 2 Hernkin Jaegers and 2 Hernkin Pioneers. I don't know who goes going into Land Fortresses. I guess you could just put Berserks in them and split the Hearthgate into the Sagittars. I don't know. Maybe we're just taking Land Fortresses for the sake of taking Land Fortresses. But this is kind of well-rounded, right? You have a lot of scouting. You have a lot of infiltrating. So you have so much like insane midboard presence. And then you're probably just like kind of late gaming with the Land Fortresses. If they have to come out and deal with all of, like, fucking 12 Hernkin Pioneers and 4 Sagittars, then you will very rarely have enough to also deal with Land Fortresses. A lot of times you see Hearthguard to, like, follow up after the Land Fortresses, but I guess we're doing Chthonian Berserks in that spot instead. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, no Hearthguard for those Land Forts is surprising. And not even like an Einherjar champion. A lot of times you just have an Einherjar champion to run around and like punch people. But we're not doing that today. We have an Ironmaster who is not attaching to anyone, probably. A lot of people have been taking the one-off Ironmaster and you just put him in the Sagittar. Like, that's fine. Like, is Votann, you just take the characters for the sake of taking characters? Like, this dude still has a bunch of wounds, right? Because he's got a bunch of little friends. He has the Ironkin assistant guy. So he's not the easiest thing to kill, and he can just utility for you. And you don't really care if he dies, because he doesn't do anything. He's not, like, you don't even have a Brookier Thunderkin unit to jump into. Just hanging out. Ooh, Adeptus Mechanicus. I was gonna put the call out for any factions we wanted to jump into, but we're for sure gonna look at Adeptus Mechanicus, the most accurate representation of D-Day. Bunch of landing craft over here, my guy. Had 2 of them rack up 17 mortal wounds between 2 Einherjar champions. Yeah, Einherjar champions are for sure underrated, I think. The list that ran just like 3 solo Einherjar champions that were like super Chad. I appreciated those lists. Those are very cute. Oops, all activations. I do like it. Yeah, Uthar is probably also underrated. He's a little too expensive, I feel like. He probably would be better on the table than he seems like in paper, but the fact that he's like so selfish with his abilities is like really weird. I don't know. This is a Scunter cohort. We got a Battlesphere uplink, a Clandestine Infiltrator, and a Veiled Hunter. All the 3 enhancements on 3 Skitarii Marshals. So that's the Shoot and Scoot. That's the Infiltrate and Scout. That's the Redeploy. 1, 2 units of Ragers. That's good if you're in a matchup where the opponent has infiltrate but not scout, because then you can redeploy. You can block their infiltrates and then redeploy your own into a better spot. 2 units of Rangers, 3 units of Vanguard, 4 Dune Riders, and a bunch of stabby boys. Kyria Draxus is in there. Gives a little bit of extra damage to one of the units, one of the Skitarii units. Benefits from the fire support that the Dune Riders have. Double Iron Strider Ballistari with Cognitive Las Cannons, Traxi Sterilizers, the big 10-man sterilizers. It's so interesting that it feels like we just, with the changes to how the Doctrina Imperatives works, we just like forgot Traxi existed. Because most lists are taking like 0 to 2 Traxi now, whereas previously it was literally 6 units of Traxi or go home. But we're not doing that anymore, very rarely. Big Rust Stalker unit, a little good counterpunch melee unit there. Skitarian Infiltrators for more infiltration, hot damn. Plus a Scorpius Disintegrator with a Faramite Cannon. That's interesting. I wonder if we just needed another direct fire sort of outlet, and we already took all of the Iron Strider Ballistari. We could have. I guess you could take 2 Iron Strider Ballistari in that spot, but if you have extra points, the Disintegrator is probably better. He's higher volume, too, against like heavy infantry, because he has the missile launcher. Let's see. What else we got? Little Chaos Space Marines. Florian Lemesle, who I think was on War Games Live on the last round. He had a tie round on the final round. He was up against Necrons. I'm actually surprised that was a tie, because it looked like he was losing. The last time I looked into that game, the narrative was that he was getting blown up, but looks like he brought it back. He pulled it back to that 10-10 score. We got a Chaos Lord, double Dark Communes, and Cypher. This is Pact Bound Zealots, by the way, so we get the old school Slaves to Darkness ability. 2 units of Cultists. 2 Accursed Cultists with the Mark of Chaos Undivided, so they get Profane Zeal. Chosen for the Chaos Lord to jump into. Raptors, big Mark of Slaanesh Warp Talons. This is the second best attachment for Warp Talons after, or probably after, the Renegade Raiders. Although it's much closer now that you can't automatically drop the Warp Talons out of melee. But the 10 with Mark of Slaanesh do almost about as much damage as the +1 AP out of the Renegade Raiders. We got triple Chaos Bikers, little utility friends over there, plus 2 Vindicators, Chaos Rhino, and a Nurgling Swarm. It's for some additional utility. Chaos Rhino's embarking looks like the Chosen, and I don't think anything else. I think it's literally just the Chosen in that one today. Yep. Seems pretty straightforward. I like the Dark Commune. I think they give you a little bit of threat range that it feels like. I don't know if this is like the wrong take, but it has felt like outside of like the one unit that's advancing and charging with Renegade Raiders, the threat range is a little bit, or I guess not the threat range, but the board control in Chaos Space Marines has been a little bit like sort of lackluster. They're very good at jumping out of vehicles and charging you, but if the vehicles aren't like in a good position, then their threat range can actually be very kind of standard. And I think the Accursed Cultists give you a lot of like ability to take table space. They can take hits on the chin because they're so hard to kill, and then they get that long threat range with their advance and charge that lets them sort of push back in. And that just opens up space for the Vindicators and Chosen to get work done. Seems pretty good. The Chaos Space Marines versus Necrons game timed out? Oh, well, that's one way to do it, I guess. That's significantly less impressive because the game looked like it was going very poorly for Chaos Space Marines. But I guess not if you just go to time. You know, there you go. That's wild. I did not know that. Well, thanks for letting me know. All right, folks. Any other factions that we want to take a peek at this big, huge event? It talks about most of the good ones. Or our friend Ryan over here with the 7 Greater Demons is actually number 1 with a loss. He's the top seed on the 2-1 bracket. Both players got carded. They made it to turn 3. Wow. That is a result for sure. That's wild. Well, it's too bad we didn't get to see that game play out, I guess. That makes me a little sad. CSM had tamed out in another game, too? Oh, jeez. Well, gotta learn to play fast when you're playing 10th edition. It seems like... I remember back in 8th edition, there used to be this whole... There was this culture of, like, slow, gentlemanly games. But 8th edition was, to be fair, like wildly complicated. That game was way too difficult. Oh, I'm knocking my camera again. For the longest time, I know WTC played like 5-hour round timers or something. They're like, no, we don't want any timeouts whatsoever. But I think that has been... I guess I don't think that was ever the case in Warmasters, to be fair. I think that's a teams thing. And to be fair, team event round timers usually are like 3 hours and 30 or 4 hours still. Just to make sure they get through the pairing process correctly. Are Ultramarines doing anything? Doesn't look like it, chat. I think if you're on Astartes, you are probably on... This is Dark Angels, and that's unaffiliated Ironstorm Spearhead. But you're probably on Dark Angels right now. Just kidding. This is his Ultramarines list. We found one. It's a old school Vanguard Spearhead. At this point, these lists are like 9 months old. Which feels like it sounds, I don't know, that sounds both like a long time and like it was yesterday. The blade-driven deep apothecary biologish that jumps Marnius Calgar to the middle of the table. We have an aggressor squad, the big Inceptor squad, because you can uppy downy and 3-inch deep strike them on people. Infiltrators, because we get guerrilla tactics, so we can pull them off and then jump them on table edges. 2 Gladiator Lancers or Redemptor Dreadknight. Yeah, this is like a very classic list. This feels like a list from November. That's wild. So there you go, chats. That's 2-1 at Warmasters. Richard Broch. Broke? There you go. What Dark Angels attachment is the go-to? Gladius Task Force. Almost 100%. I would say the vast majority of Dark Angels lists are Gladius Task Force right now. Oh, shit. Excuse me, chat. I forgot to turn the camera off. Yeah, here's the list. It's a pretty classic Vanguard Spearhead. So the Apothecary, Marnius Calgar, Khalid Assassin, Aggressors, Inceptors, more Inceptors, even more Inceptors, Infiltrators, even more Infiltrators, Scouts, even more Scouts, 2 Gladiators, 1 Redemptor. Old school. Classic stuff. Four hours for teams, 2.5 hours feels pretty tight. Yeah, that's what my local community plays. But we do play pretty fast. We have, and I think the game takes like exponentially longer the tighter the matchups are. So you'll see more games go to time like as the skill level increases. So at WTC, I think you could expect games to go a little bit longer because you're like thinking about more stuff. People don't make as many like punishable mistakes. So that might just be part of it. Trying to get Reboot on the table. Yeah, he feels rough, man. I expected him to see a points cut because they nerfed his like biggest ability, but he didn't get a points cut. I think if he was at this stage, people back in the day were like, oh, he should be 240 points. I was like, are you a crazy person? That dude kills entire armies with his sword. But like now that he's just a hive tyrant, like what is he? 350? Yeah, he needs like he feels like a 280, maybe a 300, but 350 is like way too expensive for that dude. I think you give it a minute for old Gilliman. Marne's Calgar's fine though. Marne's Calgar rules. That guy's not going anywhere. See an Abaddon on the table. See who the top cast Space Marines are. Matt Bonnet is rocking Chaos. The Dark Communes. It seems like the Dark Commune list is kind of the way things are going. Someone has this Terminator Sorcerer. That's kind of cool. Little Death Hex action. Yeah, I think either like the Chaos Lord focused Renegade Raiders, or it looks like the Dark Commune focus lists are the ones that are doing the best right now. The Abaddon list, it seems like it's fallen down quite a bit. Oh, this list is interesting. This is a Soulforged Warpack. This list actually looks sick. Before we go too far, this list is 1-0-2. Classic differential scoring energy right there, chat. Martin Fevreau with a single Warpsmith, double Cultist Mobs, 5 units of Legionaries. And then Forge Fiend, Venom Crawler, Mauler Fiend, Lord of Skulls, and 2 Nurgling Swarms. This list rules. Soulforged Warpack seems cool. I should play Soulforged Warpack. I feel like I would enjoy that list. Any Greater Demons? Oh, you missed the 7 Greater Demon list, chat. I won't go back through it, but I will timestamp it. So if you want to go look at that list. Also, I posted it in the Discord. There's an absolute Chad running literally all Greater Demons and nothing else in his army. It's just 7 Greaters. It's fucking awesome. Oh, man. Good stuff, though. Well, I'm excited to keep tabs on WTC stuff over the weekend. I think it's gonna be a good weekend for some delightful, delicious Warhammer 40k action, and I think we're in a good spot with the game, right? And especially team events. I think team events are in a good spot. I think the meta is sort of solidified right now for Pariah Nexus. At least that's the feeling I'm getting, is like we typically see a lot of the same stuff like that's winning currently. But obviously team events have a much different dynamic, so I think it's going to be interesting. Surprised I haven't seen Vashtor anywhere. Yeah, the +1 strength is actually kind of relevant too. On demon engines as well. Plus he actually does real damage now, which is good. So yeah, Vashtor definitely could see play. Orcs, ouch. Yeah, we did talk about some orcs, but yeah, they're struggling right now. They're having a bad time. Turns out when you take like a hammer to the kneecaps of their 2 best factions, and they're already like they're like an eminently answerable faction, right? Where you're just like, oh, Bully Boys is so strong. Like, is it? You just run dudes in front of it, and they can't do anything. It was weird that they went so harshly against on them, and I think they went way too far for sure. The old GW double tap, yeah, and there was a big discussion on that in the Discord the other day. There was some discourse about whether secret missions were hurting them as well too. Sounds like that does hurt quite a lot. Orcs are very good at scoring really early game, but losing out late game as the opponent sort of like wins the attrition and pushes back. And if you then secret mission another 20 primary on top of that can be problematic. Yeah, I think that's the list that we looked at, chat. Anyway, chat, I'm going to go ahead and pop off. Give me about, I would say about 20 minutes, and I'm going to be over on the Twitch. So twitch.tv/TacticalTortoise TV. I'm going to put it in chat. We're gonna play some Speed Freaks, and to be honest, if you follow up there and you want to hang out for a while, I'm probably gonna be playing Speed Freaks quite a bit this week because it's Speed Freaks week. Speed Freaks just came out, so yeah. If you are in the Discord server, come hang out. I'm gonna be in the video game channel in a bit, and I'm gonna be playing the shit out of some Speed Freaks. So that's what I got posted for the rest of the day. So come hang out with me. Thanks everyone for chilling. And I will see you later. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, everybody. Keep it classy, folks. And let's get this show on the road.